What is sexual shame?
Sexual shame is feeling wrong or bad about your sex, about your feelings, your desires. We aren't born feeling sexually ashamed. Rather, it's learned from a lifetime of negative messages, judgments, or poor education.
Yeah, and we believe something is wrong with us and we fear our partner is going to reject us. And so we keep all of this shame a secret.
And the root of shame centers on not feeling worthy enough to have a healthy sexual connection.
A lot of times we aren't able to recognize what we are experiencing is a shameful feeling, or you aren't able to describe what your shame is. And unfortunately, this often leads to blaming other parts of your sex life or your partner.
So, society dictates to women every single day that she can't like sex too much or too little. She needs to like sex just the right amount. But how much is the right amount?
Spoiler alert, the average woman is never going to get her sexuality right, meaning she will experience shame no matter what choice she makes. Ah, Amy, that sounds like a really big mountain women need to climb.
It sounds like a big mountain, but really it isn't. And one of my favorite things to do, one of the first things that I do with all of my clients in coaching, because shame is, to your point, shame is a piece of every single person that comes to work with me. And what we do is we identify what these shames are and then we reframe them. And that is how you start to turn this around and take that giant mountain and turn it into a molehill.
Yeah, and I think it's good to know, like we feel like we're the only ones
Mhm.
who are experiencing this sexual shame when every single person has sexual shame. And I feel like the more we can talk about it, the less people will experience this. So, it's even though it's really hard to talk about the things that we feel ashamed about, it's the one of the only ways that you can let go of that sexual shame.
Yeah, shame is such a deep negative emotion that affects every part of our lives. But shining a light on it, being aware of the things that you're ashamed of, and then talking about them. Because once you bring things out into the light, they can't stand, they don't stand up anymore. Because once you discuss it, once you're aware of them, once you discuss it with the appropriate person, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's a therapist, maybe it's your best friend, but that will help you learn to dispel that and remove it and move out of those feelings.
Yeah, sexual self confidence, a big component is recognizing that you will always have negative emotions, but you can overcome them. And we thought the best way to understand how to deal with sexual shame was to use an example. And what's that example, Amy?
Vaginal farting, queefing. I know. And they're so long like that too sometimes. They just don't stop. Or like if it does the little sputter one. Ugh. Yeah.
or the
Yes. Yeah. And what this is this is when air is being pushed out of the vagina. So let's say if you're doing a doggy style and your bum is way up in the air and if you think about it, they're during intercourse, so they're kind of pounding in and out, and if the penis is coming completely out and then pushing it back in, it's pushing air into the vagina. And your vaginal canal will also pull air in. And the vaginal canal is an enclosed space. It has nowhere to go. So when it comes back out, let's say you change positions from doggy style and now you're laying with your legs in the air, it's going to come out as that vaginal fart.
I really love your description, Amy. And women are often ashamed of the vaginal fart, even though the sounds are a natural part of sex. And I know it's easy for me to say because I'm a sexologist, but honestly, bodies make noise.
Mm-hmm.
And both partners played a role in this vaginal fart, but women feel like it's her fault. Amy, so let's pretend that our listeners are at the end of their sex and the penis pulls out and there's a big vaginal fart. How can she not feel ashamed? What can she do?
So, first idea, when you first acknowledge and bring attention to your sexual shame, you want to notice that internal resistance. And what you've done up to this point is avoid this. So you want to just pretend. A lot of people's first instinct is we're just going to pretend like this didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It wasn't my vagina
What?
that
I
just
don't know.
made that fart. It wasn't
Yep.
me. I didn't do that. It was
Barking
you.
spider
You
came up
made
from
that
under the
fart.
bed.
The dog made the fart.
Yeah, blame the dog, right? But instead of doing that, you want to take the emotions out and look at it as if you were a detective, right? Just the facts, ma'am. And FYI, your self-reflection is a significant threat, and shame will try very, very hard to have you go into that fight or flight or hiding mode to protect yourself.
Yeah. So your awareness holds the power here. So instead of going into fight or flight, just notice how you would have normally acted and the patterns that you have created. And then you need to decide to make a new choice and react differently. So in essence, you're drawing a line. There was the old you who dealt with the vaginal fart. And now there's the new you who's dealing with the vaginal fart in a new way. And you might be able to say, well, this is funny.
Mm-hmm. I would
or
say,
not.
You know, what I would do in that situation is laugh because sex can be funny. You know, like if you fall off the bed or you queef or any of the crazy things, you know, if laughing just immediately diffuses that tension. So, and it's impossible to feel shame while you're laughing, right? It might turn it into a little bit of embarrassment. Embarrassment doesn't feel as deep as shame. And from embarrassment, you can kind of move into amusement. And when you make that new choice, you celebrate. You can crack up, you can laugh, and then give your confused partner a high five just because you refuse to be embarrassed by your vaginal fart. And you made a breakthrough every time you choose this new response.
And I think, I think we could, like we're making fun of the vaginal fart, and I hope, hopefully we're taking shame out of it. And I hope the next time you, the listener, has a vaginal fart, you'll remember this. And I really, really hope that you can laugh at it and make a new choice. But we should be doing that with all the shames. We should be laughing at all the shames. And I know we can't because they're shames, but I wish we could do this with every single one. And so the second idea is to understand that your words matter. So please watch what you're saying in your head and out of your lips out loud. And when you catch yourself saying things like, oh, I'm stupid, or oh, my stupid body, or whatever you say to yourself, you need to say stop and substitute something that's affirming, like vaginal farts are funny. Mm-hmm. Because they are funny, and that is affirming, and it's just completely turning your mindset around.
Yeah. And if you've just finished a really wonderful sexual experience and then you end with a big old vaginal fart at the end, rather than being like, oh man, that just ruined the whole thing, you can say, you know what, if it wasn't for this incredible sexual experience that I just had, then, I would say rather than that happened to me, I would say, I get to have a vaginal fart because of this incredible experience that I just had. Because if I hadn't had this incredible sexual experience, then I wouldn't have had that. So let's celebrate the fact that I just had this really wonderful experience, and my body is just celebrating that at the end too.
I'm gonna say I get to have a vaginal fart the next time I have a vaginal fart. I get to have this.
Yeah. Instead of I had to have it, or I shouldn't have had that. I get to have it. I get to have it because this just shows that we were just having a whole lot of fun right before. So here's the third idea. If you want to get over the shame quickly, write it down and talk about it. When you admit to someone, such as a trusted friend, that you're ashamed, it's like taking an eraser to your sexual shame.
And I know it's hard. Like shame is just so embedded in us, and I get that this is really challenging. And I want you to think of sorting through your negative emotions as if you're seeking the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. So once you acknowledge and clear out these negative emotions, your brain now has space to welcome new, fresh, proactive thoughts, the kind of thoughts that are going to build your positive mindset and enable you to want and enjoy sex and laugh at vaginal farts. We're going to stop with the vaginal. We're going to start with, we're going to stop the fart jokes, aren't we? No? No.
I mean, I think the best way is just to say it, name it, and laugh at it and let it just move on through, because it is a natural part of what our body does. And again, that's to be celebrated.
So just to recap what we've talked about in this podcast, first of all, you need to acknowledge and bring attention when you're feeling shame. So your awareness is really key to the start of this process of understanding your shame and doing something about it.
The words you're using really matter. So write it down and then talk about it with someone that you feel safe with, whether that's your partner, your best friend, your sister, your therapist, whoever it is that you know you can be safe and vulnerable with. Write it down and share it with them. And then dig in and take your time and do this right. Remember that self-compassion and forgiveness are your vehicles out of this and into the sex life that you want.
Find out this and so much more by subscribing to the Sensational Sex Podcast. And please grab our free gift to you. Links will be in the description. And if you like this podcast, then make sure to check out this next one coming up.